Let's say that you and a friend living in the past came across a fossil and that you correctly identified that it was once alive and that it was not a mythological creature. Would the animal that this fossil represented still be alive today? Most people would think that this was the case because the idea of extinction is a relatively new idea. It wasn't until the early to mid 1800s that scientists seriously began to consider that a species could become extinct. Many in the past actually objected to the idea of extinction for largely philosophical reasons. If humankind was the most important thing in creation, then why would something become extinct while humans were still here or extinct before humans appeared? If we were the purpose of creation, then all creation was here to serve us. And some would argue that this had implications towards the nature of God. Are you saying that God made a mistake? That God made something that could not survive? So this was a controversial topic. Many, including Thomas Jefferson, who had a great interest in fossils, actually describing a fossil giant sloth. There is a species named after Jefferson because of his description of it. They believed in something known as the Great Chain of Being, made popular with a wonderful poem by Alexander Pope, in which each species was thought to be a link in a great chain going from the simplest of organisms up to humans and then perhaps even into the divine. And thus, if one link in this chain were to break, all of nature would become unraveled so that it was actually impossible for something to become extinct. Thus, Thomas Jefferson warned the explorers, Lewis and Clark, as they explored the middle of North America, be careful for those mastodons. We know that their fossils have been discovered. They must still be out there somewhere. And so, thus, if one discovered a fossil in the past, one would not have interpreted it the way that we do today. The idea that this was the remains of something which was once alive, the idea that these were natural animals as opposed to fantastical mythological beasts, and the idea that it might be extinct. These are all relatively new ideas. As an example of this, Bernard Palissy in the 16th century made a number of discoveries and described fossils as the remains of ancient living animals no longer alive today. His ideas were considered controversial, and he was thrown in prison until his death.